Hello and welcome back, y'all. I'm Shayna Cersei. I'm so excited to paint with you today. Another day, day 8 of our watercolor journal journey, where we're going to paint every day. Here is a recap of what we've done so far. So if you haven't seen any of these videos yet, go ahead and check them out. They are in a playlist, but some of these paintings were from a previous journal. This was day 1 for us. This was from a different time. Day 2, day 3, day 4, 5, 6, 7. And you're going to start to see me, some things will be upside down now because I'm switching back and forth. And today we're on day 8 and we're going to paint this way. So trying to get everything in frame for you. I'm going to be flipping the journal back and forth. So that might drive some of you crazy. Do any of you have to have all the pages in your journal facing upright, like the same way, to paint your paintings? Like here, this one is upright and this one is upside down. Does that drive any of you crazy? Let me know. I'm going to go alternate back and forth so I can always be painting on this side and never have to lean my hand on the clean or already painted page. Okay, so today, what are we going to do? Today we are going to do another landscape. We're going to jump back into landscape. We're going to take a break. We did a bunch of food. We did carrots, onion, garlic. We're going to go back to food eventually, but I'm going to do a landscape today. Another folk art inspired kind of whimsical landscape. And I think I'm going to play with some color mixing, because color mixing is so fun and amazing. So this is definitely going to be something that, or patience is going to be a key, and you're going to have to let things dry. But we're going to do, and let's draw it out. I'm just going to do a couple of these rounded hills in different colors. Let's do a couple of smaller ones here. There we go. And I'm going to do them all mixing complementary colors to get a more earth tone versions of the colors that I have, I think. And let's throw, I'm going to use my tape roll. I'm going to throw a big moon, a circular moon up there. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so this is a super simple painting. We'll add in some trees at the end. But I'm going to use earth tone colors. The moon I'm going to keep white, and then all of these hills I'm going to paint in different colors. So sometimes doing a really simple subject can be helpful when you're trying to learn like something like color mixing, and you don't want to just paint blobs, but actually turn it into somewhat of a composition of some sort. So that's kind of what this is. And I didn't mean to like turn this into a whole lesson. I know we're supposed to be just doing chill, like watercolor journaling, but you know, there's always an opportunity to learn something new. And I'm out of paper towels over here. I'm going to use my my paint rag. Okay, so nice clean palette for some color mixing. Okay, what are we going to do here? So I want to make some kind of more earth tony colors. So I'm going to start with a yellow, but I don't want it to be super bright yellow like this. This is a nice warm yellow. I want to bring the tone down a little bit. So purple is the opposite of yellow, but the purple I have, dioxazine purple, is super, super strong. So I'm going to make my own purple with just a little phthalo blue and quinacridone magenta. This is going to be pretty, I want it to be a little more pinky purple than. So this purple I'm going to mix a little bit with my yellow, and you can see how I get more of a brownish yellow. It's a little too brown for me, so I'm going to add back a little more of this yellow, because I don't want to completely change it to brown. I just want to tone it down And you can see that, so purple and yellow are opposite each other on the color wheel. There's always going to be a primary color and a secondary color as complements. And I won't get out the whole color wheel. I have lots of videos on color mixing and mixing complementary colors and mixing primary and secondary colors. So I'm not going to do that in this sketchbook. See the number 8 down here? I've started to do so many of these, I have to start labeling the pages so I remember which day I'm on. I'm excited. I'm going to get to like day 100, you know, I'm going to do more. I want to say I would love to do one every single day of the year. I don't know that that's realistic. Things happen, life happens. And it's not just the painting part. I definitely might paint every single day of the year. That could be achievable, although still a big goal. But recording it and putting a video out every single day of the year, that would be really tough. But I want to get into the hundreds for sure. So I hope you will join me on that journey. All right, so I'm using Queracron Magenta, which can be considered a primary color on your color wheel, or red in place of red. But again, I want this to be a little less vibrant and a little more kind of a burgundy. So opposite this would be green. So I'm just going to pick up a little sap green and mix that in, and look at that, how it tones that down. And then also with the purple I made, okay, so we made purple over here. And if I want to tone this purple down, I can just add a little of the yellow that I already had to it. So let's make a little more purple. And let's add a little bit of yellow. And it starts to desaturate and kind of take the vibrance out of this, but when you don't want a super vibrant color, like that's what you're going for. So let's put this, we'll put it next to the yellow. You want to make sure your yellow is dry. That's why I said patience before you get super close to it. So I'm just going to turn my journal a little. Sorry about that. And if these are really streaky, like this paper isn't 100% cotton, I might have to do a second layer on them if I want them to be kind of an even wash, but I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to paint this lovely little scene. All right, now I gotta let this purple dry, and everything touching it I can't paint yet. So I'm actually gonna paint the sky. The sky I want to do in a blue, but I want it to be like a navy gray blue. So let's see, if I start with, I'm gonna start with some ultramarine. I don't have any cobalt blue in this palette, which would be great right now, but that's okay. So ultramarine, which is a very warm blue color. You can see it next to this red. It's very vibrant. I am going to, because I'm going to do this for a sky and it's going to be darker, I'll add a little bit of orange to it first. So orange is the opposite of blue on the color wheel. And you can see how that kind of grays it out. Takes that vibrance out of it, but I'm also going to add some Payne's Gray to darken it. So ultramarine. Ultramarine is a granulating watercolor, or granulating color generally, so you might see a little bit of texture in it as it dries, it granulates. Oh, I'm so sorry about kicking that. All right, so we're going to put this in the sky. I'm going to go around my bright and shiny moon and my hills here, trying to keep things nice and wet. and working quickly. I'm just going to paint right around my little clip. Not even going to move it. And if you want the sky like a really dark, rich color, you certainly would have to do a couple of layers with these colors. I'm curious to see how this mixing with ultramarine, Payne's Gray, and our little bit of orange, I used a transparent pyrrole orange, is going to play as this dries and it granulates, so that could be fun. And especially when you're working with dark colors, you see all of, it's really hard, especially when you're working like around objects and things, it's really hard to get a really smooth wash, especially not on cotton paper the first time around. So that's all right, we're going to let it all dry, and if we need to add a second layer, we will. All right, so things are coming together. I love this type of color palette when it's like a muted color palette and it's done well, can make you feel so like relaxed. At least that's the sense I get. It's very like soft and soothing and relaxing. Great for a morning sketchbook painting. Make a little room here for some green. All right, I'm going to do some sap green. Okay, sap green is already a pretty earthy green color. If you had started with like a super blue green, this technique will even work even better, but the opposite of green is red. I'm going to pick up some of this red that we used over here. Actually, I have a little alizarin crimson in here. So alizarin crimson and sap green make a beautiful like brownish earth tone color, but that is a little too warm for me. I actually want it to be a cooler green color. So this has a lot of red tones in it because sap green has a little yellow and red. And if I'm talking way over you in terms of color mixing and color theory, it's totally fine. Just ignore me. Just mix red and green together and trial and error and experiment. If that is not what you're looking to learn, it's totally fine. All right, so too warm, opposite of red, I'm sorry, too yellowy, opposite of yellow is purple. So purple is made up of blue. I'm going to add a little blue to this. I'm going to add a little ultramarine to this. So I just talked like way through a bunch of steps. So feel free to ignore and just do as I do. Don't worry about what I say. All right, so now we have this nice, beautiful earth toned, but slightly cooler green. My other hills are pretty dry. And you could definitely do these in like gradient washes, being darker at the bottom and getting lighter towards the top of each hill, or vice versa, to give it a little more oomph of kind of watercolor magic. But again, I'm just learning and playing with colors. Okay, so I'm definitely going to use some of this red. I think I'm going to do, should I do this hill? I'm going to do it right here. I feel like the red is going to overpower, even though it's muted like everything else. I don't want it to, red is always an eye catcher, and I don't want it to overpower this. I really like this green, yellow, purple combination. Although I do think this red works with those. All right, I'm going to put that there, and that might be the only red in here. I think this is going to be yellow. Yellow, and this might end up being green. Yellow, green, green. And that'll be the only purple, maybe? Well, I don't know. All right, so this is going to be yellow, though, up here. And don't worry about that moon. We're going to give it a little love. Oh, we're already at 15 minutes. This might be a long one. Just because we're being so patient with the drying time. So we might go to like 20 minutes on this one. It's because I had to explain, but not really explain, all of that color theory stuff to you. Don't be afraid to turn your journal or your page. I'm just trying to keep it steady so that you can kind of follow along. All right, so what did I say? Green, green, so that none of the colors are touching. Now I have to recreate that green. All right, so sap green. A little alizarin crimson. And we're going to add some ultramarine. Wah! Well, that's a pretty green. It's a little darker than the other one, so, but I think we'll be okay. There we go. So see, the more blue I add, the cooler the green gets. The more gray toned it looks. Close enough. These are far apart. The two colors are far enough apart on the page that I don't think you're going to notice the difference. And then I think that red is dry enough. Yeah, look at that blue streaky sky. The hills are doing pretty well. They're not too streaky. I would definitely, off camera, if I was just sitting by myself, actually painting without an audience, take your time. Go ahead and add more layers on. So I do kind of wish I didn't add that red and I just kept this green, purple, yellow, but you know, it's okay. It's in the sketchbook. So let's add more ultramarine, more Payne's Gray, a little orange. Oh, I made that far too yellow. So that orange was a very yellowy orange instead of a reddish orange. So we gotta go much further to the blue side, adding lots more blue. All right, this is definitely a different tone, has a little bit more green in it, but it'll work. And then our moon, we are going to add some color to it, even though we want it to be still this bright, kind of glowy look to it. We're going to give it some shape and form and some shadow. All right, let this all dry. And then we're going to add some shadow to the moon and we'll add some silhouettes of trees and things. All right, we're back and everything is dry. And I will say I did put a second layer on each of these hills while the sky was drying. So just keep that in mind. That's why they're a little darker and a little more vibrant. Or saturated, I should say, not necessarily more vibrant. Okay, so let's do our moon. I'm going to make a little space in one of these palettes, and I'm going to use neutral tint. You could use Payne's Gray or really, really watered down, a really watered down black. You could add a little yellow to it, but basically our moon, I'm just going to paint it in with water. And depending on your paper and your paints, but if you get really close to the edge of the blue, it might reactivate your blue. So be careful about that. And then once that's wet, I'm going to take some of this neutral tint really lightly and just start to drop some of it in kind of around the edges and in some various areas. It gives it just more shape. I'm going to leave this side kind of empty. Not going to add any actual paint over there. I think the white or the water, because it's wet on wet, is going to do a fine job of pulling it over there. I put in a really dark bit right there by accident. Let's put a few more dark bits over here. We'll make it work together. So there, now our moon has some shape and form, those little craters that you see in a moon, and it's rising over the edge. Beautiful. All right, let's put in some fun little details over top of this little fun color palette. All right, so for some final little touches on this piece, I'm just gonna get some Payne's Gray out, and I'm going to do just some trees. I'm going to get a smaller brush here. Let's see. I'm going to get a rigger. And we're going to do some trees, and I'm also going to put some shadows in. So just bare trees. Kind of in front of the moon here. This is a great way to practice. Trees can be so meditative to paint. You know, it's kind of the same things over and over again. But if you're not careful, your brain will start to pattern things in a way that makes the tree look very unnatural and super planned. So you have to make sure to break some of the patterns once in a while, and make sure to build branches off of branches off of branches. Oh, my moon was still a little bit wet right there. And try to make vary the thicknesses, but of course thicker towards the base of the branch and thinner as they get further away. Oh. And again, as you're doing it, I think my moon is wet over here and I should stop messing in this area. But as you're doing this, if you make mistakes or things look weird, like that's why you do it in a sketchbook. And then you learn from it. You observe it and go, oh, what did I do here? Okay, there are too many lines that are like super parallel or similar to each other. Don't do that again. Woo! And these are always fun ones, and I've done this with some of the other ones I've done like full-length tutorials on, like adding bleed-proof white to some of the details for that real big pop of contrast can always be fun. We could put like stars in the sky using bleed-proof white with a toothbrush. I don't want to get all that out right now. just for, you know, a practice sketchbook piece. But definitely something you could do. I keep getting my sleeve caught on these. All right, so just did 2 trees. You could definitely add more if you want. But I'm going to add some shadows. So adding in shadows, they're going to be on the yellow and the green. So I don't want to just do gray over that, but so I'm going to take some of this yellow / purple, so it's kind of like a brown, so a darker color of this, and the moon is over here, so the shadow will be cast this way. So rather than just doing gray, making it a similar color to a darker version, but kind of in the same family as what you're painting it on. And then this one over here is this green color. So we'll just put another layer of green on. And then trying to follow the shape of the hill. I didn't do it very well on this one. This one's kind of straight instead of following the curve, because that curve will accentuate that shape of the hill. So I'm going to make a little darker. I keep wanting to fix the curve, but I can't. It's already done. Just move on. Know what you did. Do it again next time. And I'm just adding in some branches here in the general shape of that tree, but like, don't get too caught up in making them match identically. The brain will never be able to figure it out. It's fine, as long as they look similar. So there you have it. This fun little experiment with lots of color mixing, making some muted colors, putting in some silhouettes. Always a fun, you know, not concentrating too much on the painting part of it, but more the color mixing part of it. And still got a fun little sketchbook piece, journal piece. Learned some things, got our creative juices flowing. Thank you so much for painting with me today. I'm Shayna Cersei. It's always a pleasure. Don't forget to check out the description in this video, or of this video, for links to supplies and materials. It also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like the video, share with a friend. It certainly helps me out and gets more views to people who are interested in this type of thing. Check out the playlist for all of the other days, and I'll see you again soon. Take care, y'all. Happy painting.